Though many may not know it, the horrifying events of the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose were not entirely fictional, but rather were based on the actual experiences of a young German woman named Anneliese Michel. Anneliese Michel grew up devoutly Catholic in Bavaria, West Germany in the 1960s. When Michel was 16, she suddenly blacked out at school and began walking around in a daze. Though Michel herself had no memory of the event, her friends and family said she was in a trance-like state. A year later, Anneliese Michel experienced a similar occurrence where she woke up in a trance and wet her bed. Her body then went through a series of convulsions, causing her body to shake uncontrollably, leaving many of those closest to her certain that she was possessed by a demon. But what happened next was even more disturbing, and the exorcisms that her family used to treat her symptoms eventually left her dead on July 1st, 1976, at the age of just 23. Anneliese Michel was born on September 21st, 1952, to her devoutly Catholic parents, Joseph and Anna. As a young girl, Michel attended Mass twice a week and was devout herself. The Michel family was fairly average until Anneliese Michel began experiencing bizarre episodes. At just 16 years old, Michel experienced her first convulsion. Despite these occurrences, Michel attempted to live a normal life, even going on to attend college at the University of Würzburg, although her classmates described her as closed off and deeply religious. However, the fits continued. After the second time she went into a trance, Anneliese Michel visited a neurologist who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, a disorder that causes seizures, loss of memory, and experiencing visual and auditory hallucinations. Temporal lobe epilepsy can also cause Gay-Schwinn syndrome, a disorder marked by hyperreligiosity. After her diagnosis, Anneliese Michel began taking medication for her epilepsy. However, the drugs she was given failed to help her, and as the year progressed, her condition deteriorated. Though she was still taking her medication, Michel began to believe that she was possessed by a demon and that she needed to find a solution outside of medicine. She began to see the face of the devil wherever she went, and said she heard demons whispering in her ears. When she heard demons telling her she was damned and would rot in hell while she was praying, she concluded that the devil must be possessing her. Anneliese Michel and her family sought out priests to help her with her demonic possession, but all the clergy she approached rejected her requests, saying that she should seek medical help and that they needed the permission of a bishop anyway. At this point, Michel's delusions had become extreme. Believing she was possessed, she ripped the clothes off her body, compulsively performed up to 400 squats a day, crawled under a table and barked like a dog for 2 days. She also ate spiders and coal, bit the head off of a dead bird, and licked her own urine from the floor. Finally, she and her mother found a priest, Ernst Alt, who believed in her possession. He stated that she didn't look like an epileptic in later court documents. Alt petitioned the local bishop, Bishop Joseph Stangl, who eventually approved the request and granted a local priest, Arnold Wren's, permission to perform an exorcism, but ordered that it be carried out in total secret. Exorcisms have existed in various cultures and religions for millennia, but the practice became popular in the Catholic Church in the 1500s with priests who would use the Latin phrase vade retro satana, go back Satan, to expel demons from their mortal hosts. The practice of Catholic exorcism was codified in the Rituale Romanum, a book of Christian practices assembled in the 16th century. By the 1960s, exorcisms were very rare among Catholics, but a rise in movies and books like The Exorcist in the early 1970s caused a renewed interest in the practice. Over the next 10 months, following the bishop's approval of Anneliese Michel's exorcism, Alt and Renz conducted 67 exorcisms, lasting up to 4 hours, on the young woman. Through these sessions, Michel revealed that she believed she was possessed by 6 demons: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, Adolf Hitler, Nero, and Fleischmann. All these spirits would jostle for power of Anneliese Michel's body and would communicate from her mouth with a low growl. During the course of her exorcism, Anneliese Michel continued to physically and mentally deteriorate. The demons in her argued with each other, with Hitler saying, "People are stupid as pigs. They think it's all over after death. It goes on." And Judas saying Hitler was nothing but a big moth who had no real say in hell. Throughout these sessions, Anneliese Michel would frequently talk about dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church. She broke the bones and ripped the tendons in her knees from continually kneeling in prayer. Over these 10 months, Michel was frequently restrained so the priests could conduct exorcism rites. She slowly stopped eating, and she eventually died of malnutrition and dehydration on July 1st, 1976. At her time of death, Michel weighed only 66 pounds and was suffering from multiple broken bones and pneumonia. She died at just 23 years old. After her death, Anneliese Michel's story became a national sensation in Germany after her parents and the 2 priests who conducted the exorcism were charged with negligent homicide. They came before the court the first time on March 30th, 1978. The prosecution called forth doctors to testify that Michel was not possessed by demons, but rather suffering from extreme mental illness stemming from her religious upbringing and physical health issues. In return, the defense presented a recording of the exorcism to try to justify their actions. In the end, the 2 priests were found guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence and were sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was later suspended, and 3 years of probation. The parents were exempted from any punishment as they had suffered enough, a criteria for sentencing in German law. Later, the Catholic Church altered their finding, stating that Michel was mentally ill, not possessed. Other than her inspiration for a horror film, Anneliese Michel became an icon for some Catholics who felt modern, secular interpretations of the Bible were distorting the ancient supernatural truth.